It's the home stretch of the FPL season, so how are we going to make those gains over the final 3 weeks? Let's find out. What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Backup Fantasy Sports. It is Thursday, May 2nd. My name is Ewan, and on today's episode, we're going to get into some Fantasy Premier League with a Game Week 36 preview. No double game week, no blank game week, just a regular old game week. It's been a little bit helter-skelter there for a few weeks, but we are settling back down into a rhythm, except that it's the final 3 weeks of the season, so it's kind of all alert kind of going on here, scrambling all over the place, trying to make up those gains, trying to rank or reach up the mini league standings in your home leagues, all that fun stuff. We're going to break it down today, but let's get right into it here with the Game Week 36 schedule. It is a Friday deadline this week. FPL decided to throw one more spanner in the machine, just kind of hoping to catch some people out, I guess. But Luton Everton Friday night, 8 p.m. UK time. So the lock will be 6:30 p.m. UK time. And then on Saturday, we've got Arsenal Bournemouth as the early game, then Brentford Fulham, Burnley Newcastle, Sheffield United Nottingham Forest in the afternoon slate, followed by Man City Wolves on Saturday night. Then on Sunday, we've got Brighton, Aston Villa, Chelsea, West Ham, Spurs, and Liverpool as the Sky Sports Super Sunday game of the day, and then Crystal Palace and Man United on Monday night. So plenty of action over 4 days of Fantasy Premier League. And yeah, it is coming down to it. 3 weeks to go. So how are we going to make those rank gains? Well, first we need to look at who has the best fixture or fixture run over the last 3 game weeks. So a lot of teams have 4 game weeks, as game week 37 is going to be a double game week. So we will be prioritizing those players with 2 games in game week 37 as our transfers for game week 36 and game week 37. As you can see down here, I've only got 1 transfer for game week 36. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to use it yet. I will be waiting for the press conferences. Just to put a timestamp on this, it is Thursday morning, May 2nd. It's about 7:45 Germany time, so 6:45 UK time. So no press conferences. The Chelsea Tottenham match hasn't happened yet either, so waiting for that Thursday night. But yeah, it's kind of with the Friday deadline, wanted to get this out a little bit earlier. So top 5 teams here for the final 3 game weeks: Newcastle, Chelsea, Man City, Brighton, and Man United. They all have 4 games. Newcastle tops the charts here: Burnley, Brighton, Man United, and Brentford. Then Chelsea has West Ham, Nottingham Forest, and Brighton. Or Nottingham Forest and Brighton in their double game week, and then Bournemouth in game week 38. Man City has Wolves this weekend, and then 2 away games in double game week 37, Fulham and Tottenham, followed by West Ham. Brighton's got Aston Villa, then Newcastle and Chelsea, followed by Man United on the final day. And then Man United has Crystal Palace on Monday night, Arsenal and Newcastle in their double, and Brighton for the final game of the year. As for the worst teams here, we've got Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham, Liverpool, and Aston Villa. They've all got 3 games over the final 3 game weeks of the season. Liverpool in particularly, Tottenham, Aston Villa, and Wolves. Quite a tricky schedule for the Reds down the stretch, as these are the final 3 games of Jurgen Klopp's tenure at Anfield. Aston Villa, a little tricky as well. Brighton seem like they're on the beach, so that should be okay this weekend. But Liverpool and Crystal Palace, Liverpool probably will want to make a statement for 3rd place, as Aston Villa can still catch them for 3rd place, and Crystal Palace is pretty in good form right now. I would expect a lot of people are picking them to beat Man United on Monday night in an upset. But Wolves, Bournemouth, they've had their double game week, so you can probably get off of their assets. Liverpool, if you want to be differential in game week 38, Wolves at home could be a last hurrah for Mohamed Salah in FPL, although it sounds like he might extend at Anfield for 1 more year. So down the stretch of any FPL season, we're always worried about teams being on the beach, which means that they don't really have anything to play for. So there might be rotation risks. Maybe we just can't trust their lineups. Maybe they want to get a look at some youngsters down the stretch. So I have on this graphic here things to play for with the scenario and the teams involved. So for the Premier League title, Arsenal and Man City are going to go down to the wire unless one of those teams slips up in game week 30. I think only Man City can win it before the final day. I mean, they would maybe if they lost twice, Arsenal could kind of claim it that way. But Arsenal Man City is probably going to go down to game week 38, I would think, as long as those teams win out. Champions League places. We've got Aston Villa and Spurs here fighting for fourth place. I think it was made official last night, but Germany and Italy are going to win the coefficient for the final two spots for the fifth automatic Champions League spot in Europe. So fifth place in the Premier League will not get Champions League football next season, which is a little bit of an upset. I would think a lot of people thought England would overtake Italy this year, but it did not happen as a lot of the English teams just fell in the quarterfinals of the European Cup or their European Cups, their Champions League. So Aston Villa and Spurs kind of battling out for fourth. They can both overtake Liverpool, but Liverpool only has to get like 1 point in the last 3 games to secure Champions League football. Spurs would also have to win every single game from here on out, and they are about 27, 28 goals behind Liverpool on goal difference. So I don't think they're going to be able to make that up. As for the Europa League spot, that's going to be fifth place right now. So Spurs, Man United, Newcastle, and West Ham are all in contention for that. So Spurs are in the driver's seat there. The other Europa League spot goes to the FA Cup winner, which is going to be Man City or Man United. So if Man United win, then they will get it. But if Man City win, then the sixth place team in the league will get that. So it's really between probably Man United, Newcastle, and West Ham. As for the Europa Conference League, that is going to the League Cup winner, which is Liverpool, but they're going to go to the Champions League more than likely. I would think. So that this will come down to Spurs, Man United, Newcastle, West Ham, Chelsea, and Bournemouth went down all the way to 48 points there. So a lot of teams still with some things to play for here. I would think Spurs, Man United, and Newcastle are kind of battling out there for the Europa League and the Europa Conference League spots, but West Ham, Chelsea, and Bournemouth not really that far behind, especially Chelsea, who have a game against Tottenham tonight. And then relegation is going to come down to Nottingham Forest, Luton, and Burnley. So while we may not want their assets for FPL, we should not consider them like kind of easy matchups. They will be fighting tooth and nail to get every single point down the final 3 games of the season. Moving over here to benching headaches. So a lot of teams played their game or their second wild card in game week 35. And there's kind of become a template at the top 8, the attacking 8. So on this graphic here, I've got Erling Haaland, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Alexander Isaac, Bruno Fernandes, Nicholas Jackson, Son Heung-min, and Anthony Gordon. That seems to be the template 8, as they've kind of been called on FPL and the FPL community these days. You may not have all of these guys. Like, for instance, I have Saka instead of Foden. And I have Garnacho instead of Anthony Gordon. But if this is your situation, or if you have any of these players with a benching headache this weekend, this is kind of a good graphic for you. So what I've got on here, I've got the players, I've got their non-penalty XGI per 90 over their last 6 games. This weekend's opponent expected goals conceded over the last 6 as well. And then the predicted points according to the rotoballer.com rankings, which will be live tomorrow morning around 6 a.m. I would think East Coast time, so 12 p.m. UK or 11 a.m. UK time, just in time for the deadline. So definitely check that out, rotoballer.com, where we've got our roundtable, our betting, our DFS, all of the above. So all free. Go over there, click it out. So yes, Haaland, Palmer, Foden, Isaac, Bruno, Jackson, Son, and Gordon here. So it's gone by the predicted points here. So Haaland is on top with 7.12, followed by Palmer 6.5, Foden 5.6, Isaac 4.7. So Bruno 4.66, Jackson 4.62, Son 4.21, and Gordon 4.14. And I'm not going to sit Erling Haaland. That's kind of where it all begins for me. I would not try to go against him. Even if you are trying to gain rank, that's just kind of too much for me. So I think it does seem to be coming down to Bruno versus Jackson versus Son and versus Gordon for a lot of FPL managers. Everyone's probably going to play Cole Palmer. Phil Foden will be very popular. He could possibly be a transfer for me in game week 36. Alexander Isaac up top as well. So yeah, Bruno, Jackson, Son, and Gordon. That's kind of the four you have to choose between. So you've got to pick three of the four, leave one out. So for non-penalty XGI per 90 over the last six, Bruno leads the way here with 0.68. And then it is Anthony Gordon with 0.56, Sung Hyung-min with 0.5, and Nicholas Jackson with 0.43. However, it has been made abundantly clear on FPL Twitter that Anthony Gordon only has 2 returns away from home this year, and Burnley is 16th for expected goals conceded. So they have the 5th worst defense for expected goals over the last 6 games. Meanwhile, Liverpool has the 3rd best defense for expected goals conceded, which you wouldn't think watching the Reds, but they're still up there. West Ham is the 2nd worst defense for expected goals conceded over the last 6, 19th, and then Crystal Palace is 11th. So right now, my spot is Anthony Gordon. Instead of Anthony Gordon, I've got Alejandro Garnacho. So I think Garnacho came off at halftime last week with a little bit of a niggle. We'll wait on Eric Ten Hag's press conference tomorrow to find out more about that. So right now, I think Garnacho is going to be my guy that I'm benching, and I would probably bench Anthony Gordon if this is kind of your templatey lineup. However, if you are trying to make rank gains towards the end of the year, I do not mind benching Sung Hyung-min this week against Liverpool. He's got the double in 37, so you're going to want to keep him no matter what. But Liverpool, 3rd best defense. Son really hasn't been firing all that well in recent game weeks either. I mean, 0.50 is pretty good, but compared to a few others on this chart, he comes in 3rd bottom. So that's not great. And it sounds like Richarlison might come back. So Sung will be pushed out to the left against like a Trent Alexander-Arnold, possibly a Joe Gomez if Klopp wants to rest Trent Alexander-Arnold. So Son could have a field day there with Richarlison in the middle. Possibly Brennan Johnson comes back into the squad. We'll probably see more about it tonight in Tottenham's squad against Chelsea. Maybe that's how they'll line up against Liverpool. It would be tough to see Richarlison starting on Thursday and Sunday. Just he's been out of the lineup for so long with Spurs. Like they still have stuff to play for, obviously, but you don't want to maybe cause a longer term injury since Richarlison has been out. So maybe if Richarlison comes off the bench tonight for like 30, 45 minutes at halftime, that would be a good sign that he starts on Sunday. However, if he plays about 70 minutes tonight, maybe he'll be coming off the bench as well against Liverpool. But it's all a guessing game. We'll find out more with the lineups tonight from the Tottenham Chelsea game. So I think right now, if this was the template 8, if you had these guys in your team, I would bench Gordon. For me, I have Garnacho, so that's who I would bench instead of Anthony Gordon. I also have Bukayo Saka instead of Phil Foden. Definitely going to start Saka at Bournemouth. He's actually kind of a captaincy shout for me this week. But yeah, I think for benching headaches, I would bench Anthony Gordon quite comfortably. Favorite Citizen. So it's kind of like Man City are flying. They didn't have the best performance the other week against Nottingham Forest, but it's still Man City, and they are coming down the stretch like they always do, being very strong, overpowering teams, and just kind of flying towards the end of the campaign. So there's all this discourse about Ederson, Guardiola, Kyle Walker. I'm not really interested in going with a Man City defensive asset. They might keep 3-4 clean sheets over the last 4 games. Who knows? But that's not really where I would focus my transfers or my FPL energy over the final 3 game weeks here. So everyone has Haaland. A lot of people have Foden, and some people are jumping on the Kevin De Bruyne train, which is very, very tempting to me as well. So over the next 3 game weeks here, I've got predicted points, their non-penalty XGI per 90, their FPL points over the last 6. The non-penalty XGI is also over their last 90, and their team selected by percentage according to the official FPL website. So over the next 3 game weeks, Erling Haaland is predicted to score 25.35 points, Kevin De Bruyne 18.62, and Phil Foden 19.91. For their team selected by percentage, Holland's at 62.4% right now. De Bruyne's 16.4%, and Foden's at 38.1%. Non-penalty XGI, Holland leads the way, 0.84, followed by De Bruyne, 0.76, and then Foden, 0.66. FPL points here, De Bruyne leads the way with 43, then Foden with 39, and Holland comes up at the back here with 25 points. I think the simple answer here is you should definitely go with Erling Haaland. Seems like he's fit, came off the bench against Nottingham Forest, scored a goal. I would expect him to play the last 4 games of the season, as Man City are not in any European competitions anymore. So it really comes down to De Bruyne versus Foden. If you don't have the money for De Bruyne, Foden is an excellent option. He's almost 40% rostered in the game, so that will cover off a lot of kind of your opponents that you're playing against in your mini leagues or your overall ranking. But De Bruyne is definitely the most interesting option as a punt here. I mean, if he's going to play every game for the remainder of the season, he would be, if we got that guarantee, I think he would be first choice among these 3 or second behind Haaland, but first between him and Foden. 43 points over the last 6 games for De Bruyne, 0.76 non-penalty XGI per 90 as well. It's just fantastic returns. When he is in the form that he is in, he is one of the best FPL assets in the game. If you have the money, I would strongly consider getting up to Kevin De Bruyne over Phil Foden for the final 4 game weeks of the season. I know that's not possible for everyone, but if you're chasing, if you need to make up ground in your mini leagues, or you're trying to get to that top 100, top 50, top million, whatever it is, the rank that you want to achieve for the rest of the FPL season, I think Kevin De Bruyne is an excellent differential to kind of go chasing that rank. If you're consolidating, I think Phil Foden is the best choice there, just because a lot of people do have him. He's very popular. He missed out the Nottingham Forest game through illness, but that shouldn't carry over. I think Pep will give us an indication over whether he's recovered from that. I'm sure we'll see some training photos, all that stuff. So, like I said earlier, Phil Foden is definitely in my thoughts. I'm getting close to that 5,000 mark, so consolidation might be the way for me to go. Maybe get lucky here with a couple of people trying to chase top 1,000 or something with Kevin De Bruyne. Maybe they would fall down so I can slip inside the top 5,000 at the end of the season. But top 10K would be incredible. My first time cracking the top 10K. So that's why kind of consolidating might be where my thoughts are for the FPL season. So I would rank them. If you are happy, if you're happy with your rank, you're leading your mini leagues, you just want to kind of see it out to the end of the season, I would get Haaland, Foden, then De Bruyne. However, if you are chasing, I would go Haaland. I mean, if you're chasing by a lot, I would probably go De Bruyne, Foden, Haaland, because whatever. But I think it would be Haaland, De Bruyne, Foden. I would flip them that way if you are second or third, just not that far behind, but within touching distance of your mini league rivals. I think De Bruyne over Foden for me. Captaincy debate here for game week 36. Haaland has Wolves, Saka has Bournemouth. A lot of people are going to go Haaland no matter what. I probably will go Haaland as well, if I'm being honest. But Saka is definitely worth a shout here. So predicted points, according to the rotoballer.com rankings, Haaland 7.12, Saka 6.61. Non-penalty XGI over the last 6 games is Haaland at 0.84, Saka 0.46. And then the opponent's expected goals conceded over the last 6. I did not update that, but Wolves are 11th and Bournemouth is, I think it was 14th there. So that is where you should go there. But yeah, I think Haaland, if you're, like I said, if you are consolidating your rank, if you are just kind of leading your mini leagues, you don't want to get overtaken, Haaland is probably a safe choice. But if you're feeling risky, if you want to take a punt, then Bukayo Saka against Bournemouth is a great option as well. Had a goal and an assist against Tottenham over the weekend. Probably should have had another goal, except for a fantastic save from Vicario. So that is something to think about as well. Saka at home against Bournemouth. Arsenal have shown us time and time again that they can just absolutely blast people away. Chelsea 5-0. They scored 3 against. They were up 3-0 against Tottenham. They've blown away Sheffield United this season as well. So Arsenal definitely capable of turning it on, but yeah, Man City might just want to grind it out. But Holland, fantastic option as always. If he goes big and you do not have the captaincy on him, you could be buried in your mini leagues for the final 2 weeks of the season. So, yeah, once again, if you're chasing Saka, if you're kind of holding steady, I would go with Erling Holland. Here are my game week 36 thoughts for my own team. So right now I've got Petrovic in goal against West Ham, then Burn, Gabriel, and Eight Nuri at the back. Bruno, Saka, Son, and Palmer in the midfield with Nicholas Jackson, Alexander Isaac, and Erling Holland up front. I do currently have the armband on Bukayo Saka. Not sure if that will stick before the deadline tomorrow night. On the bench, I've got Onana, Garnacho, Van Hecke, and Bradley. So I got some defensive issues to solve here. Hopefully, if we get some news on the press conference about Eight Nuri possibly coming back, being all right. But sounds like Bradley has a 50% chance of playing, could be in the squad this weekend against Spurs. And then Van Hecke doesn't sound great for him either, could be out for the season. So I've got a game week 36 transfer, a game week 37 transfer, and a game week 38 transfer. I really don't want to use those on 3 defensive assets, but also I'm on a bench boost in game week 37, so I do have to prepare for that as well. At this point, I think I won't have 15 doublers for my bench boost. I played a game week 31 wild card, so maybe that was ambitious of me no matter what, but the free hit was in 34. That paid off fantastically, so I'm not going to sit here and say that it was a bad idea. So it just injuries kind of came at the wrong time. Van Hecke has played like every game this season, and he just randomly picked up a muscle injury and could be out for the rest of the year. It'll kind of hinge on if I can scrape through this week. If Eight Nuri is going to get the start, I'll probably just roll my transfer because I don't really have any major fires to put out. But yeah, so for game week 37, here I'll have Petrovic, Dan Burn, Onana, Garnacho with double game weeks, along with Bruno, Son, Palmer, Nico, Isaac, and Holland. Single game weekers will be Gabriel, Saka, Son, Eight Nuri, and Bradley. So that's 5 single game weekers. Oh, wait, no. 4 single game week guys with Gabriel, Saka, Eight Nuri, and Bradley. So I've only got 2 transfers to kind of fix that. I could see a -4 next week, possibly a -8 if it's going to pay off. Like just have 2 players. The hit will pay back with a double game week player, potentially get lucky. But this week, I feel like I can probably roll. The only transfer I would maybe make is to bring in Foden, but I mean, that would have to be for Saka, and I really like Saka as a slight differential this week against Bournemouth. I'll take Saka for 90 minutes against Bournemouth over Foden right now, just for one last game week. But I would think for game week 37, Foden will come in for Saka, and then probably 2 more transfers. I think I'm just going to keep Gabriel at the back because Arsenal can keep a clean sheet every week, so he can outperform a double game week player by himself. So yeah, I think Foden will come in over the next 2 game weeks, just depending on injury news that we get tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I will probably end up switching my captaincy armband from Erling Holland from Bukayo Saka to Erling Holland. The last graphic here, or the last point I have here, was like Son out, which would be a differential. Like if I took Son out for Foden, that would maybe be something. But just with the extra fixtures coming up, it's kind of double game week tunnel vision. It's tough. Like obviously, Foden has a better fixture this week than Son against Liverpool, and then he also has the double. But it feels like an unnecessary transfer. If I was going to do that, I would want to gain a fixture, and that would maybe be Saka. But so lots to think about over the next week or so. I mean, the next 36 hours before the deadline here for game week 36. But as of right now, I do think I'll probably just roll my transfer for game week 37. And that gives me 2 free transfers and a hit to kind of fix the rest of my team, get some injury updates, give some more time for maybe a Bradley, Van Hecke to come back, see how that goes for game week 37. But let me know what your conundrums are heading into game week 36 in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel or give it a 5-star rating on the podcast side if you are listening over there. We've got Chelsea Spurs tonight. Hopefully that goes well. I think I've got 4 guys going: Son, Palmer, Petrovic, and Nico Jackson. So I guess I'll hope for a goal fest there. Palmer didn't really come through as the captaincy, but maybe I can push up into the top 5K for that video, or for next week's video after this fixture tonight and game week 36 starting tomorrow night on Friday. But yeah, once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Good luck in game week 36, and I will talk to you next time.